here we go. It could be that you did it a little differently. Don't mark it wrong just yet. But if this is the scenario here, I tend to, if it's a rectangular shape, I tend to call the longer sides L, right? And the shorter sides W, right? The width. If you went WW and called the short ones length, you should still be okay, right? It'll just look a little different at first, but the dimensions at the end of the day and the area will be the same. Okay, you'll just have them flip-flopped compared to what I got, right? So when you see this, you realize, okay, I have 1,200 feet of fencing available, right? And so this is the crux, right? This is where everything needs to start. You have 2 lengths to cover with it, plus 3 widths, right? So that's the starting point there. And this, because I gave you this, so this is technically the independent variable, right? So you want to isolate, in this case, for length, so that width is in the mix, right? So watch what I'm going to do here. 1,200 minus, I'm going to bring the 3W over, and then you're left with 2L. This is probably where a lot of you are going to forget to divide by 2, right? Because I feel like the assignment may not have had enough 2Ls, right? But you divide both sides by 2, and so length is really 1,200 minus 3W over 2, and I will put this in brackets like that. This one right here, I would give a mark for, if you get that part right. Okay, so you would get a mark for that. If you didn't get that right, you lose that mark. But then I have to use your equation here and follow through everything else. So it's going to be a pain for me to mark this one, as you can tell. So we're just going to assume you lose a mark here if you get this wrong. And then I might have to address you individually depending on what else went wrong. Okay, so given this, I'm just going to see here, my answer is the same here. So if this is 100, oh no, I have to redo this whole thing. So 1,200 minus 300, that's 900, divided by 2, that's 450. This should be 450. And so 1,200 minus 600, right? Because 3 times 200 is 600, divided by 2 is 300. And then 1,200 minus 3 times 300, this would be 900. So 1,200 minus 900 is 300, divided by 2 is 150. And the reason why I like to when I pick my numbers, I have a pattern, is so that I also see a pattern here when I do the work. If you don't see a pattern, you probably made a mistake, right? So now we multiply. So that's 450 times 100. That's 300 times 200, 150 times 300, okay? So you multiply them out. I'm going to zoom in a little bit so you can see it. Okay, let's see here. So this would just be, right, 450 and adding another 2 zeros, so 45,000. This would be 6 and 4 zeros added. And this would be 45,000 as well. Yeah. Coincidence. So then you enter that into your calculator. Let me zoom out again. So I go, this is a different question. Oops, wrong. Let's redo this. There, 450, 300, 150. What am I doing? There we go, 450, 300, 150. I do know how to use my calculator. So right, to double check, there we go. 150 times 300, 45,000 again. I go stat, calc, quadratic regression. If you did your homework, you could have skipped this. And so there we go. You get y is equal to negative 0.67 x squared plus 400x. Okay. So you get a mark for that. If you came up with your equation, but your table is wrong, right? So I would give you a mark for the table, a mark for the equation. So 1 mark here, 1 mark for the table, 1 mark for the equation. So let's say you get this wrong, then I would check, did you actually calculate these values correctly? And are these numbers what they're supposed to be? So I would still give you a mark here, even though you got this wrong. So for the step, right? Step. Then step, and everything is step after that, right? So vertex, zoom 9 to get me started. Plot 1 is not turned on here. Zoom 9, window, -5, -5, right? For the mins, go again. That's enough. I see my vertex, so I'm just going to go for it. Left, right, 360,000, right? 300. So I will go second, trace, max. That's 360,000. And I should have said this stat, calc, quadrag, right? For the first one. So make sure keys are there. If keys are missing, half a mark just once for the whole page, okay? I would though make a note that you missed it everywhere else. So now we can answer this. The length is 300 feet and the width is 60,000 divided by 300. Okay. Cancel the zeros here. So it's 600 divided by 3, which is 200 feet. So dimensions of 300 feet by 200 feet will maximize the area. If I see 300 and 200 feet like that, if you found those, then you're good. You get full marks already. How did I do this? I just went area divided by the length, right? Area divided by length gives me the width. You may have done the exact opposite. You may have figured out your length is 200 and then your width is 300 if you flip-flopped at the very beginning, and that's okay. So marks, so 1, 2 for the table, 3 for the equation, 4 for the vertex, and 5, right? 5 for the dimensions. So this question, instead of 4 marks, you know how it says 4 up here? I decided to make that 5, okay? 5 marks for that. So you're the teacher today. Maybe you learned something new, right? Yeah. Oh, you still got the, so you did this technically to come up with these numbers. You just don't have it showing. Today we'll be okay with that. Yeah, because if you did that, that's more than guessing, right? To come up with the numbers, yeah. You're okay today. And in the future, I will actually have a section where I ask you to write this. Write the equation of the length in terms of the width. This is what I mean by that. Fun stuff, eh? Not. Okay, number 2. This one, I expected you to do a little bit better on this one. So ready? So we're told that the charge of $12 will result in 36 rentals. And every time there's a 50-cent increase, something happens to the canoes. I lose 2 rentals, right? So every time you increase by 50 cents, you lose 2. So that's what I would be looking for. And then this is 12 times 36, 1250 times 34, 13 times 32, right? I have the numbers. I don't have the numbers. I just entered it like that. So I'll just show you the equation, or how I do this at least. Did I say rentals? Oh yeah, I did say rentals, so I have to watch out. Rentals goes into L1, and then you enter your profit. Hasn't he done this for a while? Shouldn't he be faster? You would think, right? But if I'm put on the spot, I freeze, right? There you go, 416. So those are the numbers that should be on my key for the test. I definitely have those numbers to make sure yours matches mine, because then I know where the mistake happened, if you made a mistake. So then I go to my home screen, I run that again, and there we go, right? Y is equal to negative 0.25 x squared plus 21x, right? And I will just say stat calc quadreg. And maybe it's a good idea to just show, right, this is L1, this is L2, right? You just make sure, even for yourselves, right? The vertex, first I have to find a good window for it. So my window, I'm going to go -5, right? Graph it again. I still need to see a little bit more. So X max, I'm going to double it, more than double. I'm going to go 80. And my max, I'm going to go 550. I see my vertex, that's all I want today. So enter, enter, enter. So that's 4199, or actually 42, it rounds to 42. 2441, right? And that would be second trace max. Right now, it just asks you for the vertex, but you should know what those numbers represent. So what does it ask for? What should you charge? You should charge $42 per canoe. Okay, to maximize. You're right. I'm looking. It's 10:50, right? Thanks for stopping me. Someone is paying attention. Ay, ay, ay. Okay. You are right. This is the rentals. I actually like that when I get schooled by my students. That is a very good experience. Okay. Yes. Rental. So charge is 441 divided by 42, which is 1050. Right? I'm just gonna double check because my track record isn't very good. There you go. 1050 per canoe. Good catch. Yeah, 1050 per canoe would maximize. Yeah. So technically it would have been smarter, right? If you had a choice to put this into L1, right? And then boom, you're there. Okay. All right. So let's see. 1 mark for table, 1 mark for equation, 1 mark for vertex, and 1 mark for figuring out your charge. So that's 4 marks after all. Total of 9, right? So 4 for this one, and 5 for the first. So if you made one, if you forgot your keystrokes once, take off half, and then we're moving on. Yeah. Okay, I'll be right there. So just make sure it's out of 9 at the top, okay? And get your booklets out.